In order to succeed, we must first believe that we can. So, guys, again, a very positive quote here. If you want to succeed anywhere in your life, be it your exams, be it your competitive exams, or be it your sports, or be it your hobby, or be it your profession, so first you must believe in yourself, right? So, believe in yourself that you can do this job, and definitely you will be able to achieve that. So, with these positive notes, let's begin with the class. So, today we are going to discuss about class 3. So, in this, we'll talk in detail about overview of anti-nutritional factors and how they can be removed from the food. So, again, it's a very important topic because last time a question was asked from this topic, a very straightforward question. So, first of all, guys, let's talk about what are anti-nutritional factors. So, I'll give you a idea what the definition is. So, guys, anti-nutritional factor, these are nothing but the secondary or natural metabolites. So, for example, you would have seen, if you see here, this red mushroom, right? So, before that, it's a normal tendency. Each and every living being, they want to survive. So, they have certain mechanism to prevent or, to uh, avoid the predation. For example, humans, if someone is coming to attack us, we have legs, right? We can run or we can face that individual, right? It's a fight or flight thing, even in case of animals. So if someone is hitting animals, they can run away or they can even attack back. But in case of plants, since plants are stationary, right, they cannot move. So now these plants, they have certain mechanisms to protect themselves. For example, if any microbes, if any animal, or for that matter, even humans, if we eat any plant directly, if it's poisonous or if it releases certain metabolites which can be really, really harmful for us, right? We can land up in hospital if we consume certain variety of mushrooms or other fruits, vegetables. So this is their method to avoid predation. So if you see here, anti-nutritional factors are nothing but secondary or natural metabolites. So plants generally, if you see on your screen, they release two type of metabolites, primary and secondary. So primary are responsible for their growth and development of the plants, and secondary protect them, protect the plants from the predators, be it microbes, be it viruses, or be it even humans or animals, right? So if you see here, they have specific biological effect to avoid predation. Yes, as I said, secondary metabolites are proteins. They are kind of proteins, and they protect them from predation. And how they does is they does it by synthesizing range of low molecular weight compounds. So these proteins, these metabolites are nothing but the low molecular weight compounds, so that they can keep the predates away. So now if you see, why do they does this? As I said, they do this activity, they release the anti-nutritional factors, and anti-nutritional, the word itself explains that it's not good for our health. Anti-nutrition, nutrition is something which gives our body energy, power, but anti-nutrition means it's not good for your consumption. So if you see, it protects them from herbivores, insectivides, pathogens, or adverse growing conditions, right? So these are the major reasons why plants have to produce anti-nutritional factors. So now let's talk about various type of foods which you consume in daily life, and in those a lot of anti-nutritional factors are found. So you would be able to relate it today. These are the normal foods you consume. For example, you consume peas, then lentils, then soybean, then rice, wheat, corn. So majorly legume and cereal classes, they have an anti-nutrition factor, which is protease inhibitor. It's also known as a trypsin inhibitor. So if you see, trypsin is an enzyme that helps to digest protein. So protease, the name itself clarifies protease. Protease, it's something to do with protein. So protease, it breaks down the protein. Since proteins are in, uh, you know, uh, they are long chain, right? So protease main function is to break down the protein. But if you see here, protease inhibitor, it inhibits the protein, it inhibits the activity of the this enzyme, right? So if you see in small intestine, trypsin breaks down protein, continuing the process of digestion that begin in the stomach. So trypsin enzyme is very very essential in our body, because when you consume any food, so it goes into your instant intestine, right? So in intestine there are number of enzymes which are present. For example, protease enzymes, it breaks down all the proteins which are present in your food, so our body can imbibe it, right? But now these plants, they have a protease inhibitor. If you consume peas, or if you consume dal, or if you consume soya bean, so it has a protease inhibitor. I mean, when you consume this food, this inhibitor, it will not allow this enzyme to function properly in your small intestine. So now imagine you are consuming high, high protein food, but now the issue is your body is not able to digest it, right? So there is no point, right? You are eating good food every day, healthy food every day, even then your health is not improving, or the goals which you have kept for your better health, you are not able to achieve those goals. For example, bodybuilders. So bodybuilders, if they are consuming protein rich food, but the protease inhibitor quantity is very very high in those food, so there is no point, right? Because small intestine, it won't be able to break those protein because of protease inhibitor which is present in this food. So our body won't be able to digest those proteins, and there won't be any point. So now coming to second anti-nutrition factors. Uh, okay, before that, let's talk about the mode of action. So I'll give you the brief idea how this protease inhibitor works. So if you see, trypsin inhibitors are unique class of protein in raw soybean. So majorly we are talking about soybean here. So it inhibits protease enzymes in the digestive tract. So as I mentioned in my previous slide as well, so you can see here, so this scissor is like a anti-nutritional factor or protease inhibitor. So if you see here, it breaks its major function is to break down the protein. If you see, scissor is cutting the protein, right? But now the protease inhibitor, it won't allow, it would restrict the protease enzyme to digest the protein. So now digestion of the protein is hindered. So this I explained you very well in the previous slide. So if you see the negative effects, it triggers the pancreas to produce excessive amount of digestive enzymes, leading to enlarged pancreas. So guys, here trypsin inhibitor, protease inhibitor, they are very very notorious, and also they have dual function. Sometimes they would inhibit the protease to break down the proteins, but on contrary, they would also, trigger the pancreas. They would trigger the pancreas to release excess amount of protease enzyme. So now if there is excess of protease, this could also lead to enlargement of pancreas, because these inhibitors are, purposely, they are generating the mechanism in the pancreas which has to release the protease enzyme forcefully. So now pancreas is undergoing a stress. So due to this stress, pancreas can enlarge, and now they can, this could lead to a lot of negative effects on pancreas. For example, it could lead to pancreatic cancer, right? So this is the one of the major impact which this protease inhibitor can have on our body. So now let's talk about removal of protease inhibitors. So there's a very very simple technique. Even you would have seen this in your kitchen, right? Even if you would have cooked in your kitchen, or you would have seen your mother's cooking in your kitchen. So the major function of the soaking, cooking, or roasting is to deactivate protease inhibitor. So these are the basic activities which, you see in your kitchen. So your mother would be soaking peas or dal, or be it I mean beans, rajma, or soya bean, a night before cooking, right? So the purpose of soaking is to remove these protease inhibitors or anti-nutritional factors, and also they are removed easily by cooking or roasting or toasting. And yeah, I mean, these are the basic activities which you see in the kitchen. So that this is the purpose why these activities are done. But also not these anti-nutrition factors are all not always bad. They also have few benefits. If you see here, Baumann-Berg inhibitor, so protects against cancer by inhibiting excess production of trypsin. So now, this soya bean, for example, they also have Baumann-Berg inhibitor. So instead of protease inhibitor, they also have another inhibitor which is known as Baumann-Berg inhibitor. So this, it protects us against the cancer. So as I said, so trypsin inhibitor, they have dual function. Either they can completely stop the activity of the protease enzyme, or they can trigger the pancreas to release excess protease enzyme, which could lead to cancer. Now, the Baumann-Berg inhibitor, this counters the protease inhibitor and protects an individual from the cancer, right? So now moving ahead, let's talk about hemagglutinin or lectins. So guys, if you see, lectins are nothing but a group of protein, also known as glycoprotein, found in most plants, especially beans. So again, if you see, uh, these are found in legumes like peas, dals, or soya bean, right? So moving ahead, if you see the mode of action, again guys, since majority of the food, we digest it, and the nutrients are absorbed through small intestine. The small intestine is permeable, so the nutrients, they enter in our blood through the small intestine. So if you see here, again, this action is taking place in small intestine. They bind to the epithelial cell lining of the intestine, potentially altering the gut permeability. So now these lectins, they bind to the epithelial cells of the intestine. So they alter the gut permeability, means it makes them more permeable. So if it makes them more permeable, the negative effect is lectins are threat to the gut health. This allows passing of the bacteria through the gut into the bloodstream. So now, guys, what lectins does is it would bind to this small intestine, to the wall of this small intestine. So now, it would make it more permeable. I mean, things can pass easily across the gut. So now the microbes, even the harmful microbes which are present in our gut, they can easily cross this permeability, cross this small intestine, and enter in our bloodstream. So I mean, if harmful microbes enter in our bloodstream, so we can really fall ill, right? So that's the reason why lectins must be removed from our food. So if you say, the removal is very easy, normally heating or pressure cooking the food for 45 minutes. So yeah, I mean, these are the natural activities, regular activities which are carried out in the kitchen. So you would have even observed it. But there are few benefits also of lectins. If you see, they lower the rates of cardiovascular disease, weight loss, and type 2 diabetes. So if consumed in lesser quantity, right? So they can even be beneficial for you in weight loss, in controlling diabetes, and in controlling heart disease. So now moving ahead, saponins. So guys, saponins is nothing. It's just a formation of lather, or soap formation, or the foam formation. So normally you would have seen, if you soak rajma beans, right, or soya bean at night, you would have seen in the morning there is a foam layer. It's like a soap, right? So that foam is because of the saponins. So if you see, these are the bioactive compounds found in many plant species that protect plant against pathogens, pests, and foraging animals due to anti-nutritional, antifungal, anti-parasitic, and anti-feedant properties. Again, I mean, we have talked about this. Saponins are released. Again, it's an anti-nutrition factor, so it protects the plants against all these animals, and fungus, or microbes. So if you see, again, these saponins, you would have observed, these are majorly found in our dals, our beans, rajmas, or soya bean, or peas. So if you see the mode of action, so again, mode of action, again, it takes place in the small intestine. So if you see, saponin block nutrient absorption, damage cholesterol, and it disrupts endocrine function and kills cells. So again, nutrient absorption, again, the important nutrients, for example, protein, soybean is rich in protein. So again, these saponins, it hinders with the absorption of those proteins. But the good thing is, it damages cholesterol. So cholesterol, as you know, it's not good for our body. That is why it's really good to have certain amount of saponins in our body. So it also kills cells. So yeah, I mean, these are the basic functions, these are the basic activities which the anti-nutrition factor saponin can carry out. So if you see the negative effect, it increases the intestine permeability. Again, lectins, saponins also, it increases the permeability of our intestine. So as I mentioned in my previous slide as well, so if the permeability increases, so the bad microbes can easily pass through our blood and we can fall ill very easily, right? So now, if you say the removal of saponins, again, soaking at night of the food and also cooking, it removes saponin to a certain extent that it's not more any harmful for us. Also, they have few benefits. For example, it acts as an antioxidant, anti-cancer, and anti-inflammatory. Yeah, I mean, if taken in, if properly soaked, and even if there are traces, so traces are good. I mean, they are not harmful for us. So they can be. It has antioxidant properties, anti-carcinogenic properties, anti-inflammatory properties. So now going ahead, let's talk about phytate. They are also known as IP6 or inositol hexaphosphate. So phytic acid or phytate is found in plant seeds. It serves as a main storage for the phosphorus in the seed. So phytates are nothing but these are the they are found in seeds. I mean, they are type of phytic acids. So they store phosphorus for the plant seeds. So they are again majorly found in soybean, rice bran, right? So moving ahead, if you see the mode of action of the phytates, they bind strongly to the iron and zinc and calcium, magnesium and potassium, forming insoluble complex that are absorbed in the intestine. So guys, you remember we have we covered one of the topic that is macronutrients and micronutrients. So in micronutrients we have read about all these minerals. So these minerals are very very essential for our body. So now these phytates, they go and bind to these minerals. Already we are taking very less amount of these minerals, so these phytates further go and bind to these minerals and forms the insoluble complex. So now the issue is when it forms this insoluble complex, these minerals are not available for our body, which are very very essential. So that is why the removal of these phytates is very very important, so that we get the sufficient amount of zinc, calcium, magnesium and potassium in our body, right? So that is why the removal is very very important. So if you see the negative effects, makes mineral less bioavailable. As I said, they bind with the minerals to form the insoluble complex. So their removal is that is why it's important, the removal from the food, because they make these minerals less bioavailable, and it also reduces the bioavailability of vitamins, that is a vitamin b12, vitamin d. So also we read in micronutrients and macronutrient chapter about vitamins, right? So it directly goes and attacks on these minerals and essential vitamins which are required for our proper growth. So now removal of phytate. So fermentation and sprouting are the major techniques by which we can remove these phytates. For example, sprouting, you would have seen, or even consumed sprouts in your daily diet, and also fermentation. For example, soybean in mostly in Southeast Asian regions, for example, Thailand or Vietnam, Indonesia. So there they ferment the soybean. So that's known as tempeh. So tempeh is one of the dish. It's like soya chunks. So they ferment it and then they consume it. The reason is to remove the phytates, and it also fermentation, as you all know, it gives distinct flavor and texture to the food to make it more tasty, right? So if you see the benefits, also it has few benefits. It reduces starch digestion, lower blood glucose level. So the phytates, they helps in blood glucose, lowering the blood glucose level, because it reduces the starch digestion, and it also prevents the kidney disease. And how that does this, it's not at all important. Just remember these benefits, right? So now moving ahead, oxalates. So guys, oxalates, these are the organic compounds which are found in many green leafy vegetables. For example, spinach or fruits, or I mean, be it your vegetables. So these are compounds which are majorly found in green leafy vegetable. For example, spinach. So now it's a winter month, mostly in northern regions, right? So a lot of people would be consuming this spinach, then fenugreek and sag. So all these plant-rich food, plant-based food, they are very, very rich in oxalates. So guys, oxalates, they are, I mean, their removal is very, very important. We'll talk about that in next slide. So if you see here, Oxalates can bind to minerals in the gut and prevent some of them from being absorbed. So again, these oxalates also bind to the minerals. We have read about minerals, right? So similarly, oxalates also, they bind in our gut to the minerals, and already minerals are very, we take minerals in very less quantity. And on top of that, these oxalates goes and bind to them, so forming an insoluble compound. So their removal becomes very, very important, because there are certain essential minerals which our body requires for proper function. So if those minerals are not given, our body might dysfunction, right? So that is why oxalates, we eat, especially North Indians, they eat a lot of sag, lot of spinach, a lot of fenugreek in winter. So make sure the food is cooked properly in order to remove these oxalates. So if you see the negative effects, so spinach is high in calcium and oxalates, which prevents a lot of the calcium from being absorbed in the body. So spinach, as you all know, it sits really high in protein and calcium. So now the calcium is our concern, because calcium is required for our body proper function, right? But these oxalates, which are also present in the spinach, they go and bind to this calcium and prevents its absorption in our body. So again, second point, calcium and oxalate bind in the urinary tract to form crystals. So now the major issue they can cause is the kidney stone, because they form the crystals. Oxalate crystals are formed in a urinary tract, and also about 80% of kidney stones are caused by calcium oxalate compound. So guys, mind you, be very, very careful when you consume such foods, because oxalates are present in very high quantity in green leafy vegetables, and these are the major reason of kidney stones that are on rise in human population, right? So now if you see the removal again is boiling and cooking, and you would have observed whenever spinach is cooked, or sag is cooked, or your other vegetables are cooked, especially in case of sag and spinach or your fenugreek, it's been boiled for like hours and hours. The reason behind this is, there are two reasons. One reason is it's fibrous, right? We cannot digest fiber. So to cooking of the fibrous food is very, very important for a longer period of time. And the second is to remove the oxalates. So this is a reason why this cooking of these foods for a longer period of time is very, very important. So now, guys, there's a homework for you. Just comment in the comment section what are the benefits of the oxalates. So you have to just go and Google it and just let me know. This is your homework. Let me know what are the benefits of the oxalate for your body, right? So, guys, as I promised in our previous video, so in first lecture we spoke about vitamins, right? So this is a short trick to remember the vitamins. Since, as you know, there are total 8 vitamins. So B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, B9, B12. So in order to remember this, so there's a small trick. For example, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, pantothenic acid, pyridoxine, biotin, folic acid, cyanocobalamin. So the trick is, the Romans never painted pyramid before college. So if you see, the is for thiamine, Roman is for riboflavin, never is for niacin, painted is for pantothenic acid, pyramid is for pyridoxine, B is for biotin, 4 is for folic acid, college is for cyanocobalamin. Just remember this trick, so that just remember this in order, since these are just 8 words, right? So if you remember this in order, you would never forget the order of these, the name of these vitamins. So the Romans never painted pyramids before college, right? I hope it's clear. So lastly, guys, thank you so much. We'll see you in your next lecture, and take care, study hard. I hope things were clear. If you have any doubts, just feel free to WhatsApp me on this number, right? So thank you, guys. Take care.